Hey, I'm Steph.
Hey, I'm Faye.
And welcome to Catalyst, Budgeting Edition. Today, we will be covering three major topics: quality of life, wants versus needs, and the 4 steps to creating a budget.
But before we begin, let's define what budgeting really is. Budgeting is the proactive process of creating a plan to spend your money. Basically, smart spending and smart saving so you have money when you really need it. For example, during an emergency. So let's dig in.
What is quality of life, and how does it relate to budgeting? Quality of life is the standard of health, comfort, and happiness experienced by an individual or a group. Oftentimes, there is a trade-off between your current and future quality of life. For example, to save enough money to purchase a car in the future, you might have to give up eating out every week for the time being, or just eat out a little bit less frequently.
Individuals will have different definitions of their quality of life depending on their income and financial situation. Like, I might be really happy to buy a regular car. However, someone might want to buy a new luxury car because they're in a different financial situation and can afford to do so. So understanding the quality of life you want for yourself can help you identify another major aspect of budgeting: separating your wants and your needs.
So, let's get into that. What are wants and what are needs, and why are they important in budgeting?
Wants are things you can live without, while needs are things you cannot live without, usually needed for survival. Here are some examples of wants and needs to give you a better idea of these definitions. So wants are movie tickets, luxury clothing, and needs are food, clothing, shelter, water. However, sometimes there's a gray area, like mobile phones. Are they a want or a need in this day and age? What do you think? Comment down below. Can you think of any other examples of wants and needs?
Identifying your wants and needs is important because you need to prioritize your spending on needs so you can stay within your budget every month. And whatever's left over, you can spend on your wants.
Now that we know what quality of life is and how to separate our wants from our needs, let's get into the main topic: the 4 steps to create a budget.
Step 1. Identify your savings goal. What are you saving up for? Is it a short-term goal, like a book, or a long-term goal, like a car? I want to save up for a pair of shoes, so I'll use that as an example for the rest of the steps. Budgeting tip number 1. An easy way to start saving up towards a goal, or shoes in my case, is to set aside a certain percentage of your incoming money every month. Not only does this put you closer to reaching your goal, but it also acts as a preventative measure. Less money in your bank account means less money available to spend on unnecessary things like wants.
Step 2. Make a list of all your sources of income. This is the money that is coming into your bank account, the money that I can spend on my shoes. For most people, the biggest source of income would come from a job. Specifically, the amount of income you receive can be separated into 2 major categories: a part-time source of income and a fixed source of income. For example, if you work at a restaurant, the amount of money you will receive depends on the number of shifts or hours you work. In general, this means the amount of income you receive will depend on things like work performance or number of hours worked. This is called a part-time source of income.
However, some people receive money through allowances or other one-time jobs, where the amount is fixed. For example, babysitting your neighbor's children is considered a one-time job, so the money you received is a fixed value. This is called a fixed source of income. To calculate what I have left to save up for my pair of shoes, I need to calculate the discretionary income. This is personal income minus taxes minus spending on needs. What you have left over is what you can put into savings or into spending on your wants, or both. In my case, I would put aside some of this money into saving up for my pair of shoes. Budgeting tip number 2. Think ahead to see whether your main source of income will change drastically in the future, as this will help you create a more realistic budget for yourself.
Step 3. Make a list of all your expenses. This is the other side of the equation. The money that is leaving your bank account. Expenses can be categorized as recurring expenses or one-time expenses. Recurring expense is money that will leave your bank account every set period of time. For example, a phone bill is a recurring expense. Money will leave my bank account every month to pay for my phone plan.
On the other hand, a one-time expense is money that will leave your bank account only once. For example, buying my pair of shoes is a one-time expense. Do you think setting aside $5 every month into my savings is considered a recurring expense or a one-time expense? If you answered recurring expense, you're correct. Although the $5 isn't necessarily leaving my bank account, it is money that I can no longer spend on other things, and it's a reoccurring expense because I'm doing this every month. Budgeting tip number 3. An easy way to track your expenses is to collect your receipts for the week or the month and try not to use credit cards because it makes it much easier to overspend due to the convenience of paying with credit cards.
Finally, step 4. Tie your lists together. Add up the total amounts from your list of income and list of expenses and compare the two lists. You can track these two lists at the beginning of the month and compare them at the end of the month. If your income is greater than your expenses, fantastic! Consider creating a savings plan, such as a tax-free savings account, also known as TFSA, a registered retirement savings plan, also referred to as an RRSP, or a registered education savings plan, also called an RESP. Or I'll set it aside to save up for my shoes. If you're interested in learning more about TFSAs, RRSPs, or RESPs, let us know in the comments below. If income is less than expenses, consider looking for additional sources of income, like mowing the lawn for your neighbor, or walking dogs, and ways to cut down some of your expenses for the month, like eating out fewer times per month or switching to a cheaper phone plan.
Budgeting tip number 4. You can create a spreadsheet to track your income and expenses. It's a great way to have every month laid out in front of you and to make spending goals for the following month. It's also a great way to easily calculate the total of your to list. Here's an example of a budgeting spreadsheet. As you can see, budgeting is a very useful tool in our world today. It will help work towards becoming more financially stable and secure.
Here are some final tips and tricks to help you succeed in your budgeting journey. Regularly look back on your expenses so you are more aware of how much you are spending. Keeping all your receipts. Update your budget as often as possible. And finally, consider using cash instead of credit cards.
That's all for now. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any topics that you'd like to see in future videos, drop us a comment down below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Next time you see us, hopefully we'll be wearing our new shoes. See you soon.